Hiya, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, hey, I want to be nice, so I'm not gonna do it, but I'll do it real quick like a band-aid. I had the luckiest pull sesh ever. It's live, it's on YouTube. We basically got everything that could have went well. And happened really well. Very excited, happy, and overjoyed that this was like an early Christmas present, like there has been no other. Sorry about that. I know some of you may not have had the same. Sorry. Sorry. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be showcasing ITTO, at least right now. This is my ITTO that I just got. This is kind of my pre-prepared, heavily prepared ITTO, which I know some people just were able to max out day one. I got kind of sort of close. But today I want to show you guys ITTO's potential, specifically is in trying to answer. And I think I want to do this when both characters are fully built and done. But there's two things that are important with ITTO that I feel like I want to see. Does he need his iconic weapon to shine? And does he need GOROU to shine? That's what I want to see if that's possible today. Spoiler alert, he doesn't really. If you want to make him like end game super duper viable, then yes. I don't know if his sword will be needed, but his GOROU probably will be. But even still, I haven't, this is my current progression with ITTO. It's not insane. My current progression with ARATAKI ITTO is as followed. I do have this pretty well. It's actually not. Don't look at that just yet. Erase that from your mind. This is my current status with ITTO. He has no constellations. He's at talent 7, 6, and 6. I would have done 6, 6, 6, but I fucked up and didn't see the thing right. I could theoretically boost our boy all the way up because I could just convert a lot of materials to this, which I do plan on doing in the future. But he is already performing at a way in which I am satisfied that he is performing in. And we'll talk about that with my most loved and weirdly hated character in the game, Oni King, and how they contradict in a weird way. I made like 3 videos going over how he functions, so we're not going to go into that. We'll go into that when we're actually playing him, but I also have 2 weapons to showcase. Now, again, I lucked out in every possible way. I'm so sorry. I'm so happy as well. I'm so happy. You know that meme where it's like, gentlemen, I am pleased to report, or something. It's like, gentlemen, overjoyed to tell you that I have failed. But nevertheless, this weapon, people were saying, is an insane stat stick for ITTO, which makes sense. But one thing that people were saying was, if you have this weapon, will you be able to perform with ITTO off field? Kind of. You do like 5 to maybe 8 or 6k, with non-crit, like 1,000 damage per melee hit, which he attacks fast, but not that fast enough to warrant that. But I also have 40 crit rate, so maybe when you do get those consistent 6k drops, then it'll be pretty good. Also, maybe when you level up his talents, the modifier or the conversion will be even better. But one thing that is evident is that ITTO gains a lot of power from his ult. When you're activating your ult, that's when you're cooking. And here's the best message that I have for all of you. I have not felt the ITTO ult not having his ult kind of thing. In fact, I have found the opposite. I have found that ITTO gains his ult so frequently that because you always have it at your disposal, you'll use it and then you'll kill enemies, like kind of like the Eula situation where you'll kill enemies so fast that you don't even get a dip into her kit. So you'll use his ult and you'll just do super big sweeping attacks, but you won't have any time to generate particles. The good news is that he seems to generate particles quite quickly. Now, that could be just because I'm running Albedo and such, but we'll get into that and test that out shortly. But regardless, this thing is not going to let you do crazy 12k hits. Maybe if you have max refine, then yes, but if you have just 1, which I think is reasonable to maybe hope for at the very least, you're going to be able to do something with his melee and feel like you are doing something, but not do as much as you're used to for Razors, Eulas, and stuff like that. Just to let you know. But it's fine because his ult makes up for all of that, and that's something that everyone can kind of more or less dip into. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go run around and test out ITTO. But we're going to start off with neutering him heavily. We're going to dehorn our Oni King, okay? All right, so we have severely crippled our boy, I think. Okay, Cryo and Pyro is what this one's giving us. So we have no advantage here and we're fighting some big old boys. So, my artifacts for ITTO are as followed. They are not perfect. I need a little bit more crit rates, but they're pretty good for what you can, I think, consider to have. And they're definitely not perfect because I need a Geo Goblet. But anyway, 44 critical rate and 150 critical damage, as well as energy recharge is 115. That is nothing. But we're going to be able to get our ults more or less pretty quick. It's not crazy without Albedo. You do need it does benefit you to have like a Zhongli pulsing with his pillar or Albedo pulsing with his clove. But needless to say, that's what we're rocking. Our attack is okay. Our defense is 2,600, which is pretty nice. But this is the only big Pooba that I need to replace. Well, a lot of things need to be enhanced, but this one's pretty good. But it's not as good as a Geo Goblet. Defense here is not as good as Geo, so you want to go defense and then critical damage or critical rate. And if you have defense, that can kind of work, but more or less you want to go defense, Geo damage, and defense again. I think there might be an argument for maybe you want to go defense, and then critical damage or critical rate if you have his weapon at a certain refinement rank. But even then, I still think especially if you don't have his main weapon, you're gonna want to go with Geo Resonance if you can. But for right now, we are using the incredibly free-to-play weapon. We're just kind of over here getting damage numbers. We have no one in our party, which probably means we're gonna get our head kicked in. But you know, maybe not. We'll see. But again, if you don't know ITTO's kit, we ran through it like 1,000 bajillion times, so we should be able to see what we can, or you should be able to know what the hell's going on. So now we have max Oni King, so we're gonna start doing our sweeps. We're doing 3k on our base attack. That's not with a legendary weapon. You can get by with that when you're just starting out. It's not really an endgame damage tier, but it's fine because we're just trying to get to our ult as soon as we possibly can. Again, also you're hitting in such a massive radius that it's kind of crazy. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get particles. We're gonna be able to unleash the Oni King. Also, we've been getting hit all this time and haven't gotten hit at all. But we're doing 8k now. 8k is a little more reasonable for what you can get by in endgame. It's still not great, but we have like a really free-to-play weapon that's not really buffing them in any way. Not defense, nothing. So now, yes, I do not have the white blind, which would have been pretty good, but this was already okay. It's not great, but if you have him, this can work. This is like the equivalent of giving a 5-star a 4-star weapon. Specifically a weapon that kind of is just good, but not great for what we're after. Again, defense and stuff like that will be much better. So now, let's give him a 5-star weapon with significantly greater attack. And it scales off physical damage, in which ITTO gains really nothing from. But we were hitting 8k for our thing. Again, one of the things to note about ITTO though is he's hitting in such a massive radius. And he has incredible melee range. Like you hit just about everything, even if it's far away from you. And he attacks in a vertical kind of horizontal way as well. So meaning you're able to hit most things that are above you, i.e. many of the flying enemies, as well as Venti and a Swirl, I would imagine. There's gonna be Geo Resonance. Maybe that's not fair. Well, no, it's fine. Like again, we're at the point where like again, that's the lowest of the low for ITTO. I have pretty okay stats, but nothing is insane. I don't have like his Geo Goblet that's cracked, that's giving him, I don't have like 50 crit rate. Oh, I didn't change the fucking Christ. Change the weapon. I'm a dummy. There we go. Okay, so now let's equip his weapon. So now he has a 5-star weapon with greater scaling. Let's see what he can do now. Jesus. Jesus Christ. And again, that's with no resonance. That's with nothing. So doing like, what was it, like 9k with fucking nothing, no resonance, no supporting characters, nothing, is pretty good, especially considering he had a bad weapon as well. That weapon is not very good for like his specific damage applying success. Let's do this, and let's throw this, and then hit. I will say, seeing the final stack come into fruition is a really annoying. God damn you. Okay, so we just did our charge attack, hit, build up those stacks. We're doing 8k again. We did hit like for 17k at some point. That might have been, I don't think that was Albedo, but we could double check.
Burst forth, witness my great undertaking.
Okay, we're ready to pop off. Again, it takes no time at all to get his ult. Doing 8k. Let's do our charges. 9k, yeah, so now we're doing 9k on a critical hit. Again, I still think, like, as much as this, like, we're getting a stupid amount of attack, it doesn't really matter because ITTO really functions off of critical rate and defense. That's like his main bread and butter. But even still, we're getting like flapped, and these people knock your teeth in. So the fact that ITTO is just able to kind of walk it off just because he has such high base defense is pretty sick. So you're also getting like survivability in this weird thing. So also we just hit for 9,000, although I think that is Albedo, but also I think when ITTO has his ult, he does hit for the same thing. So that is something to consider. We'll do this. Throw our thing, get some particles, we're good to go. Oni King again, I've never had a problem with not being able to get my ult, and I have 0 energy recharge. But that is also because I'm rocking a Geo person, which I could imagine helping a tiny bit, but that's kind of okay. I don't know if that's that bad. Yeah, we're hitting for like 9,000. And that's without like Shincho, any other like damage ammo, Bennett, whatever you'd want. So again, his weapon doesn't give him an absurd amount, and honestly I would think he'd be much better off just going for White Blind. White Blind I think would be just perfect. like just enough of what you would need. Also, let's see if this actually we can break this shield with his Oni King state. This is one thing I was a little worried about. Yeah, see, we're not dealing big boy damage. I think we have our ult now. We're gonna do ultra charges. Yeah, see, this shield game, you need some element on your team that can help melt those things, because otherwise it's a touch of it's a slowish process. Doesn't matter if you're doing big boy damage, it's still like just elemental application that's gonna kick your ass. Anyway, I think if you got white blind, it would surpass this by a whole lot, and that's if you don't have GOROU. Now, let's stop holding back and let's actually showcase a lot of what makes this whole team tick. So let's give him his white weapon, but again, with this one, I didn't gain any other stacks. We still have the same thing that we did. The weapon does give him a demonstrous amount of crit damage, I will say that. That is just facts. But yes, by the way, his weapon is not leveled up fully yet. It's level 80. When I fully leveled up, it's gonna go, I think, beyond 80 to a 81 or 85 or something like that, and get even more attack. So there is still higher ceilings here. And also we're getting a ton of our defense feeding into our normal attack, which we'll showcase in a hot minute here. But now answers the next question, which is, what the hell is ITTO's best team? I think this is more or less it. I think it's going to be GOROU. Although GOROU is nice, he does not make ITTO, nor is my GOROU completely made, like he's not fully decked out. I think Albedo was just too nice for his defense scaling, his blossoms, his elemental mastery kind of giving you more denser shields, which can kind of help as well, and then Raiden Shogun. This to me is the absolute dream team. I can run this and relatively be fine if, and this is a big if we're not fighting the dogs, which have decay or whatever it's called, or erosion, which basically it doesn't matter if you have a shield, you're still gonna get your health taken away, so you still need a way to replenish your shield. This is what I would want to use, but I do not have C4 GOROU. C4 GOROU would allow me to basically be perfect. I would be able to heal a ton. I'd be able to do all the things I need to do, but unfortunately, I don't have C4 GOROU. Please be on a banner in the future, sooner rather than later, Mihoyo. Please, please, please. Anyways, so what I've been doing in replacing of this, because we do not need a lot of healing, is actually Shincho. Now, let's run through our team, our dream team, which is, again, our talents are still 666. Our talents are only 6 here, and 7-6. It's not great. It's not a great talent priority. Shincho is looking pretty good. Shincho's looking okay. Not great, but okay. But needless to say, our like stat priority is not good. But even still, I'm able to play and succeed with this. So I can only imagine what happens when you have a crazy amount of defense on our boy, when you have a crazy amount of defense on Albedo, and when you're maybe able to I don't know, increase Shincho or put Xiangling here with some little bit of healing. Whatever, if there was a bow that they released that was similar to the catalyst that could heal you by being used, that would be sick, and then that would basically make this team even viable, even if you don't have C6 GOROU. Anyways, so my team is not great, so their talents aren't really insanely leveled up, but this is the team that I'll be working on for a very long time coming, and oh god, Resin, please be with me. Anyway, also we're using ITTO's iconic weapon, which is it just looks so cool. Also with the Ascension, it looks even cooler. Its Ascension gives it like this cool glow to it. Yeah, it's got like this cool magma glow. It's insane. Anyways, so by the way, the one thing that you're going to want to do always is actually use GOROU's ability first. The reason why is because Albedo won't get a defense scaling unless you have it actually up. Also, you can just spam these abilities because they'll come back instantly. We'll also do this. We'll also do this. We'll also do this because that's going to go away soon. We're going to reapply this, and then we're going to throw a Teddy again. We're probably going to have enough points to unleash. We're close. There we go. And now we've probably already got enough stacks, so we're just going to expend them. So now we're doing like 12k, 23k, 41k damage. And that's without giving Albedo a fair shake, essentially. So that is amazing. That is amazing, and everything is now getting nuked. Also, none of my abilities are leveled up. Okay, so... Hopefully I'm running some gameplay in the background of this ITTO chewing through shit, being mean. There is so much more to be done here. It is crazy. His talents are not leveled up. And here's the thing. Again, sorry to always pick on you. If we go to look at Yoimiya's talent priority or Ascension, by giving her a crown, we're gaining what is functionally 3 points of damage, or whatever it could be. And then we have this one, which is increasing, maybe like, yeah, that one's a little bit better at 20 points, but its blaze is only being increased by like 9, or like a little bit more, 12, which is okay. But if we look at ITTO, if we look at ITTO's priority, it's this. Look at this. Look at this. This is level 6. It's doing 430 burst damage. Pop. Just bang. And it's inheriting ITTO's health. And if you have him at 90, his base health will allow his cow to tank like 2 or 3 shots and then run away, which will give you 4 stacks in total of hitting an enemy hitting them, and then an enemy maybe hitting them again, and then him running away, which is 4 points in total. And as long as you land your second hit, you're going to have max unleash, and then you're just going to rip, and it's just going to go. Now, the one thing that I do feel with ITTO in a huge way is, for whatever reason, this cooldown, whenever I throw my cow, it does not feel like it's what it says. So if I throw my cow, we look at our cooldown. So when he's about to take off, yeah. So like he's about to take off at like 3 seconds, but yet he's still there because he's kind of like decombusting or like becoming nothing. So it's really like a 2.5 second cooldown. Needless to say, I always feel like I have this thing up 100% of the time, and I'm always able to throw it and get that hit in. Also, if you look at some leaks, this thing scales up to, I think if you crown it, it's around like 600 to 700 damage on a burst. So you throw that thing down and it's going to hit like a pretty good truck. Right now it's hitting for 12k. If that thing can hit for 17k, I'm pretty happy. That's a pretty good burst of damage just to have alongside building stacks and alongside having other utility value. Yeah, like that's just similar to Ganyu's like clover that she leaves behind. That's amazing. Also, this thing is equally amazing. It increases your attack speed, which lets you, and also it makes it so that just, if you know the skill kit, basically every single time you hit, you're gaining a stack. And it does not feel like it's off cooldown for a long time as well. There's sometimes when you're playing like a certain characters, like, I don't know, I always feel it when I was playing sometimes Hu Tao and sometimes Yoimiya, big time Yoimiya, where like when you're on cooldown, you feel it, and you feel like you're just drowning. You're like, come on, please, give me let's try to get back to it. Whereas with ITTO, it doesn't ever feel that way. And maybe, and this could just be entirely why I'm so happy with the character, is his kit feels good to play. What I mean by that is with Yoimiya, it's simple. You hit E, and then you just start button mashing, and you hope to fucking God your attacks sync up. If you're playing Hu Tao, you activate her E, you start doing charge attacks until you inevitably run out of stamina, unless you have a C1, and then you just do charge attack, charge attack, charge attack, charge attack, and then you switch to other characters, get them queued up. Whereas with ITTO, all of the Geo characters that you have, Garou and Albedo, and I imagine Yunjin will be the same way. You can switch to them, hit a button, they're giving you your buff, and you can switch off, activate them, switch off, activate them, which feels fantastic. But again, because there's this background thing in your brain which is saying like gain stacks and then unleash them, even though it doesn't do a shit ton of damage. It probably will once I level this thing up to the fullest point. Right now we're scaling off of 300 and some damage. I believe his ARATAKI ITTO Slash's final attack will hit even harder potentially in the future. I think it goes up to maybe like 380 around there. But do not underestimate his ARATAKI slash base combo hit, so like the unleashing of all of your stacks. Yeah, basically our slash's base damage is it takes a percentage of our defense as its damage on top of what it's already dealing, which is fantastic. And if you have the weapon, then it's triple dipping into that damage, which is why we're seeing numbers like 41 on occasion. Just to simplify all of it, this character feels incredible to play. One of the reasons why, I think it's because of his weird stacking mechanic. It's not like needed, but it is very, very pleasing to the mind. It gives you something to do. It like by the time you have an opening, your bull's on cooldown, and then you just huck that at an enemy, and it stops them in place, and you're like, holy shit, okay, hell yeah. And also, you attack so fast so an enemy's constantly getting whipped around by being hit by a giant piece of steel, aka a claymore. If you build up sufficient stacks, you're able to do your hold charge or unleash your stacks essentially, and that's even faster attack speed if you've gained enough, which is this. And by the time you've done all of that, you finally have your ult, and then you just unleash this giant AoE Geo claymore that's doing huge AoE radius damage. It's crazy. Also, it's vertical, dude. Do you know how nice his expenditure of stacks is just vertical? How amazing that is. It can hit most enemies. I've rarely missed an enemy. Also, when you expend your stacks, you do like a nice little dash so that you're on top of enemies so that you're able to actually hit them and you're not having to like work your way to them. But also, if you choose to dash out of your stack, your combo slashes, you keep them. It's not like they're just expended. And it just feels like it's hard to lose with this character, and there's always something to be done, and it feels incredibly satisfying to do it. It very much reminds me of Raiden Shogun, where the Raiden Shogun just feels like, especially if you build her team around her in the way that it seems like that she's supposed to have, you're able to just like rattle off all this damage, and it feels like your brain's satisfied because it's like, that's checked off the list, that's checked off the list. There's always something that can be done, and there's always something that feels good to do as well. So needless to say, I just want to run around, even though I rambled far too long, a little bit more with our boy ITTO. But also, like, I'm already content. I'm already content with all of our damage. We're doing like 41k. Nothing in the game requires you to do more than 15, frankly. So the fact that we're just smashing shit and we still don't have us crowned. We are probably gonna crown a lot of this dude. We still don't have Garou, which people have been saying that like Garou makes him feel insane. Also, Garou is a bad bitch. Which, dude, that's the thing that I was thinking this whole time as well. As much as I wanted to kind of be careful with my, like, overhyping shit, I've had to bite a bullet in the past, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it with Yoimi and etc. That I was like, oh my god, Toma, oh my god. And it's just kind of like, okay. Anyways, but this, I feel like, will just set you free with Garou. I think it's this one, yes. It's C4. Again, gives you the ability to heal. I don't feel like you need an abundance of healing, so this would just be perfect. This will just make it so that you can kind of use Garou. Also, Garou always has his ult, but that could just because for my weird Garou, he has almost 200 energy recharge. Always put down Garou's ability so that you get the defense scaling on Albedo's ability. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. This. Please tell me it hit something. It did, thank God. We're also gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And then we're gonna just melee build stacks. So when you see our Oni King finally start to rear its head, like it does that like extra pop, that means we have max stacks. We just did 34k. Also, we're hitting so fast, so it feels crazy good to do and to use. And again, we always have our canine, or not canine, our bull to unleash. We have our ult again. We're gonna do this, just to get some extra shield strength and defense scaling. We're gonna do this, and I don't even need to use my other thing at this point. Also, I didn't need to do that, but yeah, it feels great, absurdly great. He's already good. Like, he's already really good. And also, you guys may be like, but GRINN, you fucking whore bitch. I'm like, whoa, what's your problem? Alright. But let's say some people are like, well, GRINN, it's not fair. You're showing him with an like a not very good weapon, etc. We'll show him with this. Ideally, I would show you guys with this because it's not giving him any bonuses, and the 70% attack buff does not benefit him too much because he scales so heavily off of defense. So if you have the white blind, I would suggest that. Unfortunately, your boy doesn't have the white blind because I just never made it. But I'll use this just to kind of quell the storm a little bit. His ult is where a lot of his damage lies, and if you invest heavily into his ult, you're going to be scaling way more off of defense, scaling way more into the F2P friendly defense scaling white blind. So yeah, now the one thing that I think you're always going to have to bite the bullet on is that his base attack is not good. His base attack is just there to really stagger enemies and get stacks, which is okay, because that's really good. Most people have to have a shield in order to just be usable. Like Yanfei and Yoimiya, if they get hit once, they're just stopped in their tracks. Also, it's being helped by Garou, giving us interruption resistance and such like that. Also, again, we have other bonuses here, which we'll showcase in a hot minute. But yeah, we'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll get our ult. We'll do this again. We'll do... Stop it! We'll also do this just because fuck it. Might as well use it. Then we'll replace this again. We'll do this. And melee. Look for the Oni King popping off. There we go. Hit. We're still doing 14k. You can get by with 14k, especially with all of like Albedo and such just popping off. That is also something that will be 100% okay. You'll be fine. It'll all work out. We'll do this. We'll do this. We'll do this. Albedo, goddamn you and your bullshit. This. We'll have our ult in 2 seconds. Yeah, there we go. Let me see if we have max stacks. We do. I just didn't see it. We're gonna unleash. We're doing 12k. Nothing can survive when we're hitting this fast as well. Boom. we'll just do that because style points. But yeah, the other thing that I'm not mentioning is that it's so fast. Like, I think it even might beat Yoimiya when we're expending our charges in terms of her, like, just boom, 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 boom. So it's not even like it's 12k, it's 12k, or it's 12k hitting like 4 times fast as shit in a massive radius. Yoimiya hit for me, I've seen some people hit for like 24k, which is really good, but it's only single target, and you can't control where Yoimiya really hits sometimes. Whereas GOROU says, I'll hit everybody for that, and then some. And I have an E that is wildly useful because it aggroes enemies, builds stacks, does more, allows me to do more. And yeah, it's just awesome. So one of the other things I've been hearing around, by the way, we're just really ranting about ITTO, which is, I feel, appropriate for the video. But anyway, C1 is pretty neat. ARATAKI ITTO, when you activate your ult, starts gaining stacks seemingly passively. Pretty good. It's not bad. It also seems a little bit useless because you attack so quickly that I don't feel like you would need, like, basically what this would do you'd activate ARATAKI ITTO thing, you would hit twice or maybe 3 times, and then you would just start holding down the trigger and you would just start expending your stacks. He has a 4-hit combo, but his final hit is 2 technically. So yeah. Anyways, so this would just give you the ability to just unleash quicker, but I don't feel like the gameplay that you've seen, I don't think is like, you know what, I think he could be doing more. You know, like I think he could be no, you're just constantly rattling off all of these things. Anyway, you're attacking so fast that it kind of just, I don't know, the need for more stacks. If they gave you the ability to gain and to have more stacks and to expend more stacks and to theoretically have higher attack speed based on the expenditure of your stacks, that would make sense. But there's not. That's not what it is. That's not what's happening. Also, there's this. This is pretty great. Although, again, I don't know if it's needed. When you have your ult activated, each party member will, who has Geo will decrease their elemental skills cooldown by 100 or 1.5 seconds and restore energy. Elemental skill, so that's your E. Your E's cooldown will get reduced, and you'll regenerate 6% of energy over the course of your ult. This can only be detonated a certain amount of times. Also, so basically it'll decrease your elemental E's cooldown by 4.5 seconds at max, and it'll give you 18 energy. The 18 energy is nice. It's incredibly good, and I imagine if you have this, you will have no problem having ITTO maxed out with his ult. You still don't have a problem with his ult. You just gotta, like, throw his teddy or his bowl once and you'll generate particles for yourself. Also, the E cooldown doesn't really make sense. If it was his ult cooldown, that would make so much sense. It's your elemental skills cooldown, not your elemental burst. Your elemental burst is your ult. Your skill cooldown is your E. So when you hit your E, bang, well, you can hit your E again with geo-specific characters. Who has it in E that is super good besides maybe Noelle or Nin Wong? Even then, they come back very fast and they give you a shit ton of particles. Like, maybe you'd be able to, like, use your cow twice, which I could see being, like, a nice damage buff about you just chucking your cow, but is that better than just whipping off attacks? Maybe, I don't know. But, like, his E is up for 9 or 10 seconds with a 10-second cooldown, so it's a perfect synergization thing. This also comes back, this is up forever, and is on a 3-second cooldown, so why would you want to decrease the cooldown of this? Yunjin, I don't think has an E that's going to make it so that you, like, I don't think she has an E that gives you, like, passive damage like Shincho's ult, you know? That would make sense if that was the case and had a huge cooldown, then that would feed into itself. His constellations are weird, and people have thought, like, oh my god, Constellation 2 is all you need, but I don't think you need any. I don't think you need any constellations. I would say take the points that you were going to go and try to wish for his weapon, because it's just kind of nice to have. It doesn't make him at all. But I do notice that we're doing, like, what we call 15k, but beforehand we were doing like 34k. So it's just 1 makes a huge difference. Now it's a weapon banner and it's a trap, don't use it, but even still, if you were to try to get more bang for your buck, I believe that's the way to go. Also, you don't need to be doing more than 43k, and if you've leveled up all of ITTO's talents and you got GOROU all the way up and giving him even more defense, and you're rocking the white blind, which scales off of defense and gives you even more defense, it would just make your base ITTO slashes, his hold charge, hit like a goddamn truck. And again, you can easily gain his stacks if you just use his ult and just expend those stacks. You'll hit 3 times really quickly once for 1 set, and you'll just unleash. And I guarantee most things won't live long enough to have to see the story come to a conclusion, essentially, for you to have to repeat, really. So this is one of those characters where I could see, like, again, I did a lot. I did a lot, in my opinion, for Yoimiya. I leveled up her talents to 9, 9, and 6, or 9, 9, and 8, I think, or 7, something like that. I gave her one Artifine 1 Rust. I gave her really good critical damage and critical rate scaling. Also pyro damage, all that stuff. I gave her a Bennett ult to stand in. I gave her Zhongli to keep her shielded. And I still felt like I very quickly seen the cap, and I was annoyed because there was no weapon in my peripheral that I could use to give me an advantage. So like there was no rust on any of the banners, so I couldn't have gotten that and been okay there. There wasn't a free-to-play option that was like nice, and the one that was there kind of cannibalized her best artifact set in a weird way. Whereas with ITTO, I feel like the sky is the limit. I'm happy with what I'm getting. I'm happy with getting 25 to 41k drops popping off all the time. I'm content with that. I'm good with that. GAR's not even built properly. ITTO's kind of built somewhat properly, but has talent priority investment that you could attain. Albedo's not built properly either. And yeah, to me, it just seems like the sky's the limit. The talents can be leveled. The artifacts can get better. All of them have a pretty good weapon, albeit GOROU. If they ever release a bow that heals, then GOROU will essentially be perfect, kind of like the Catalyst. If they ever release that, it'd be perfect. And yeah, to me, it just feels like this is not a bad investment. You know what I mean? Whereas when I've picked my DPS Yoimiya, my shit sandwich was, at least for me, I know some people love her to bits and they say she's fine. To me, that was my annoyance, was that like I did not felt like there was the only limitation, the only gain that I could have was an R5 Rust or her 5-star counterpart bow. And even then, she's still a character that felt fundamentally clunky to play. Like you couldn't lock on to enemies that you wanted. Her charge attack was fundamentally useless, but had the most aesthetic in the game. Her ult didn't have any bite, despite being just a kind of an okay ult that you also couldn't control and who had it on there. Yeah, whereas ITTO doesn't feel like any of that. ITTO feels like he feels fundamentally amazing to play. So that like the bait, he also attacks so fast. He has the fastest attack speed in the game. Even beating, unfortunately, a Razor. But he has the fastest attack speed in the game. He also has the coolest like melee speed. He also feels so responsive to play. Also, when you're meleeing, you can dodge, keep that melee going, dodge again, and etc. And then you can have that boom, like follow-up kick. So you never feel like you're missing a beat. It feels like honestly, how I feel right now is how I feel like people felt when playing Kazuha, where they're like, dude, it just feels so clean. Like everything feeds perfectly into itself. You're just popping off, and he does what he does expertly, and the sky is the limit. I could get more elemental master. I could level up my alt and my E, and my basic attack for it to all feed into itself perfectly. And honestly, it could have been one of those characters that were kind of like that, where it's like, oh, you just level up his alt and you level up his E or his main attack, and that's it. But because they let this thing scale up so hard, it's pretty good. And also, it is not 6 seconds. It is up for what feels way more than that. Like there's only a 3-second cooldown essentially, or 3-second off-field time. And this thing actually goes pretty goddamn far. This thing goes all the way over there. That's pretty good range. Yeah, again, I'm talking way too much about this character, but to me, he feels like there's so much more to grow. Again, I have a 6-star weapon, which I feel like I'd be feeling satisfied, but not overwhelmingly satisfied without his weapon. Although again, I think the white blind would work. If you guys have not seen Max Refined White Blind, it looks amazing. You get like 43 or something attack and I think defense, which again, his defense, those slashes, you just become a tank, and you'd become you'd be buffing his ult by a shit ton because he scales off of defense. That's not the right one. It scales off of defense, so this would be hitting like a truck. And again, your slashes gain damage based on your defense. So it would all just intrinsically, I think, feed perfectly in to your the whole system. And now I'm like, this seems perfect. Like, this seems like, again, I'm on cloud 9. I could not be more happy with my choice. And to those of you guys who got him, to me, man, he feels like just amazing to play, to actually play. And I part of me wants to level the white blind just to show people like, no. Like, but I also feel like content creators are going to do that, and I haven't done that yet, and I'm not spending a shit ton of resin on that, so I can't prove it, but I'm sure people will prove it for me, essentially. Also, one thing I didn't mention as well is this artifact set fundamentally is a revving up like thing, so it builds power over time. So like when you're first seeing him pop off, it takes a little bit of time for him to get his stacks going, or at least a little bit of time for GOROU and ITTO's, or GOROU and Albedo's attack to scale up essentially. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for letting me just ramble about our boy. I'm so happy. The sky's the limit. I cannot wait to hyper invest. Expect videos just bang boom. because it's happening, baby. And I'm already content. Like I said, the damage is already like, I'm like, this is it. I'm like, if it was just here, I'd be okay. Also, he feels great to actually like hit things and dodge around and like gain stacks and expend stacks, and it all feels smooth. It doesn't feel like you're like working with like clunky grinding gears. I digress. For those of you guys who did not get him, enjoy Shinhee down the line. If she is awesome or not, I can very much say, all I can say is I'm happy. Happy with my purchase, my choice, my saving. Hopefully you all enjoy Shinhee down the line and all that. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. I cannot wait to show you guys what these characters have and the potential that they possess. And again, if only I could get C4 Garou, that'd be the best. That'd be like, this team would be just sealed perfectly. I could rock ball, she could just clean house with me. And then Ganyu apparently is coming down the pipeline, who knows? I could get her and she could just take care of everybody else. Everybody else. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you kindly again. Subscribe button over to my right, 2 videos further that way. We do stream it constantly now on the channel at these given times on these given platforms, YouTube and Twitch, at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. Hopefully I can see you there. Thank you once again, and goodbye, my friends.